Are you tired of checking your bank account with that familiar knot of fear in your stomach? Has the endless cycle of financial worry become your daily companion, even as you silently pray for abundance? Stay with me, because tonight's meditation journey might just transform how you experience wealth forever. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. What if I told you that your financial struggles aren't because you're unlucky, unworthy, or working too little? The truth that most people never discover is that you were designed for overflow. Yes, you were literally created to experience abundance as your natural state. Has this ever happened to you? You work harder, save more, follow all the right financial advice, yet somehow money continues to slip through your fingers like water? That's because we've been conditioned to view money through the wrong lens entirely. Money isn't controlled by the economy, the stock market, or even your job title. These are simply outer manifestations of a deeper truth. Money flows according to divine law. When you experience lack or limitation, it's not because you're forgotten or forsaken. It's because you're out of alignment with these spiritual frequencies that govern increase. Think about it for a moment. What if your relationship with money isn't about external circumstances at all, but about your internal vibration? What if the words you speak, the thoughts you think, and the emotions you carry are actually programming your financial reality in ways you've never realized? Tonight, as you drift into deep, restorative sleep, I'll guide you through the sacred principles that shift your entire financial foundation. You'll discover how to speak wealth into being, how to align your vibration with abundance, and how to become a magnetic channel for divine supply. What you're about to discover might surprise you, challenging everything you thought you knew about how money works. The real journey begins when you understand that God, not your job, not the government, not even your own efforts, is your true source. When you align with this infinite source through specific practices and declarations, the vaults of heaven begin to swing open. Not someday in the distant future, not after your next promotion. Now, as we move deeper into this meditation, you'll learn why most people remain trapped in financial anxiety despite their best efforts, and the simple yet profound shift that reveals the hidden truth about why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly, while others struggle despite working twice as hard. Your financial situation isn't responding to your effort, it's responding to your vibration. This revelation transforms everything we've been taught about money. You can work 80-hour weeks, pursue multiple side hustles, and follow every financial strategy under the sun. But if your vibrational frequency is misaligned with abundance, you'll remain locked in the same patterns. You simply cannot outwork misalignment or outrun contradiction. If these prosperity principles resonated with your soul, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Each meditation becomes another thread in the tapestry of abundance we're weaving together. Join our community of conscious creators by clicking subscribe now. Think of your relationship with money as a radio frequency. If you're tuned to the station of lack, no amount of effort will let you hear the broadcast of abundance. Your inner dialogue, your emotional responses to money, and the words you speak create a specific frequency, and that frequency either attracts or repels wealth. This mindset shift represents the fundamental journey from struggle to flow. When you align with the spiritual frequencies that govern increase, opportunities find you, resources open to you, and money flows toward you in ways that often seem miraculous to those still operating under the old paradigm. Now, I want to go even deeper into this transformative understanding. Have you ever considered that you are, in essence, a spiritual bank? Every single word you speak about money is either a deposit or a withdrawal from your abundance account. The casual complaints about bills, the offhand jokes about being broke, the anxious sighs when checking your account balance, these aren't just harmless comments. They're actual withdrawals from your spiritual treasury. Likewise, your thoughts aren't neutral observers of your financial reality. They're generating either interest earned or interest lost. When you worry about money, you're compounding lack. When you expect increase, you're accumulating abundance. This isn't metaphorical. It's the literal mechanism behind manifestation. The profound impact of this understanding cannot be overstated. Most people spend their entire lives making spiritual withdrawals while wondering why their financial accounts never grow. They speak lack while praying for abundance. They think scarcity while affirming prosperity. And this contradiction freezes their financial energy in place. The 7 divine laws I'm about to reveal aren't simply good advice or helpful suggestions. They are the actual codes that open the vault of divine supply. When applied with consistency and faith, these principles create a complete revolution in how money responds to you. Just as a bank, vault requires the correct combination to open. Your financial abundance requires these specific codes. Behind the scenes of material reality exists a spiritual economy governed by immutable laws. These laws respond with perfect precision to your vibration. They don't care about your background, your education, or your current circumstances. They care only about your alignment, your belief, and your declaration. The journey from financial anxiety to abundant flow begins with understanding that your word is the currency of creation. Every sentence you speak is creating molds in the invisible realm, and into those molds, divine substance is being poured. The shape of those molds, whether formed by fear or faith, determines what manifests in your visible world. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to align my vibration with wealth," if you're committed to this transformational journey of financial rebirth. Let's continue exploring how these divine laws can completely reorganize your financial reality and begin to see how profound this shift in understanding truly is. Let's challenge one of the most common misconceptions about money, that it's somehow inherently good or evil. This deeply ingrained belief has caused countless people to develop toxic relationships with wealth. The revelation that changes everything is this: money is neither moral nor immoral. It is simply obedient to vibration. Like gravity that pulls without judgment, like fire that burns regardless of who touches. Divine law fulfills itself consistently without playing favorites. This understanding represents a complete mindset transformation. If your financial life has been marked by instability, unpredictability, or constant struggle, recognize that this isn't a punishment or bad luck. It's simply a perfect reflection, a mirror, of the frequencies you've spoken, thought, and believed. Your financial reality is giving you a precise report card of your dominant vibrations around money. When you truly grasp this principle, you'll never view your bank account the same way again. The balance isn't just a number, it's feedback on your vibrational offering. Every financial pattern in your life, whether feast or famine, is showing you with perfect clarity what frequencies you've been emitting. And here's the extraordinary truth behind the scenes. The moment you change your vibration, your financial reality must change in response. Not because you've manipulated circumstances, but because you've aligned with the immutable laws that govern all manifestation. Now, I want to go even deeper into this journey of financial awakening. Money isn't some distant force that you need to chase, convince, or beg for attention. The hidden truth that most prosperity teachers miss is that money isn't waiting to love you. It's waiting to be commanded by you. This distinction represents the crossroads between those who struggle financially and those who live in overflow. When you approach money with need, with emotional desperation, or with uncertainty, you're not speaking the language it understands. Money responds to the order of one who stands in truth, one who speaks with clarity, conviction, and spiritual authority. The universe is listening constantly to your vibration around wealth, waiting for a clear command it can fulfill. Think of divine mind as the ultimate fulfillment center. It holds unlimited abundance, infinite supply, and boundless prosperity. But it operates with perfect precision. It releases substance into alignment, not into confusion. It pours wealth into clarity, not into contradiction. It responds to command, not to complaint. This revelation transforms your entire approach to financial abundance. You are not a beggar hoping for crumbs from the universe's table. You are a divine channel through which abundance naturally flows when you stand in the vibration of truth. When you speak with authority rather than anxiety, when you command rather than plead, the very fabric of your financial reality begins to reorganize itself. Don't let this moment of alignment be the last. Subscribe to this channel to continue your journey into divine prosperity. Each video serves as a powerful reminder of the wealth consciousness you're cultivating. Click subscribe to ensure these teachings remain part of your spiritual practice. The journey from financial frustration to abundant flow requires this fundamental shift in identity. You must move from seeing yourself as someone who chases money to someone who channels it, from someone who works for money to someone who commands it through vibrational alignment. Most people spend their lives looking at empty bank accounts and speaking words of lack, then wondering why the universe keeps reflecting that same emptiness back to them. But the impact of standing in your divine authority and speaking with clarity is that money can no longer ignore you. It must respond to your command when that command is aligned with spiritual law. If you recognize that you've been speaking the language of lack while hoping for abundance, type, "I now command wealth with clarity" in the comments below. Let's continue exploring how your relationship with money transforms when you move from fear to command, and begin to recognize the profound difference between chasing wealth and commanding it through divine law. Many believe that wealth is random, a matter of luck, timing, or cleverness. We've been conditioned to think that some people are simply destined for abundance, while others must struggle. But this perspective misses the fundamental truth. Wealth is not random, it's not capricious, and it's certainly not reserved for a select few. Wealth is revealed, yes, revealed, to those who obey spiritual principles. This revelation transforms your entire financial journey. Behind the scenes of every wealthy person is not merely a clever strategy or fortunate circumstances, but alignment, conscious or unconscious, with divine laws that govern prosperity. When you understand this, everything shifts. The hustle culture, the endless formulas, the complex financial strategies, they all fall into their proper place as tools rather than foundations. Without being rooted in divine law, even the most brilliant financial strategy becomes like leaves in the wind. You might experience temporary success, but sustainable abundance requires spiritual alignment. This is why we see so many who achieve wealth, only to lose it, or those who appear to have it all, yet live in constant fear of losing everything. Their wealth isn't anchored in law, it's built on the shifting sands of circumstance. The impact of this understanding liberates you from the exhausting cycle of constantly chasing the next financial strategy or opportunity. Instead, you focus first on aligning with the unchanging principles that govern all material manifestation. From this alignment, the right strategies, opportunities, and pathways naturally emerge. Now, I want to go even deeper into the mindset transformation required to fully embrace this truth. One of the most insidious beliefs that keeps people locked in financial struggle is the idea that poverty is somehow more spiritual than prosperity, that there's nobility in lack and virtue in struggle. This false teaching has kept countless souls from claiming their divine inheritance. Let's turn to Scripture for clarity. In 3 John 1:2 we read, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth." Notice the powerful revelation here. Prosperity is explicitly named as a divine desire. Not just spiritual prosperity, but material prosperity as well. The Scripture connects our soul's prosperity with our external prosperity, revealing that they are meant to flow together, not oppose each other. This hidden truth dismantles the belief that poverty is pious or that scarcity is somehow sacred. If we truly believe that God is our source, that divine mind is infinitely abundant, how could lack ever be the divine plan for our lives? The journey to financial freedom requires healing this fundamental misconception that has kept so many locked in unnecessary limitation. Your breakthrough begins when you fully embrace that prosperity is not a spiritual compromise. It's a spiritual covenant. When you accept this truth, the guilt that has blocked your abundance dissolves. The fear that receiving more might somehow make you less spiritual transforms into the understanding that your prosperity is part of your purpose. Consider for a moment how much more you could give, serve, and impact others from a place of overflow rather than lack. True generosity flows from abundance, not from depletion. The universe is not honored by your struggle. It is honored when you step into the fullness of what has been divinely prepared for you. This decision point represents the crossroads where many turn back. They hear these truths, feel their power, yet cling to the familiar comfort of limitation because it's what they've known. But for those who choose to move forward, who embrace that divine desire, includes their material well-being, an entirely new dimension of possibility opens before them. The spiritual foundation for prosperity isn't about accumulating for ego's sake. It's about allowing the natural flow of divine abundance to move through you unobstructed by fear, guilt, or limiting beliefs. When your soul prospers through alignment with truth, your external world must eventually reflect that inner prosperity. If you're ready to release the false belief that poverty is somehow more spiritual than prosperity, type "Abundance is my divine birthright" in the comments. Let's continue exploring how this shift in consciousness creates the foundation for lasting wealth, and see how these fundamental shifts in consciousness begin to transform your entire relationship with abundance. When we truly understand that wealth is our divine birthright, we must then grasp the vehicle through which this birthright is claimed, the power of our spoken word. This revelation illuminates the pathway between your current financial reality and the prosperity that awaits you. When your soul begins to prosper through spoken word, obedience, and expectation, something miraculous happens. Money and opportunity begin to obey you, like waves obey the moon. This is not metaphorical language. It's a description of the actual mechanism through which manifestation occurs. Your words are not merely expressions of thought. They are creative forces that shape the substance of your reality. The universe doesn't respond to what you want or need. It responds to what you declare with conviction and authority. This understanding represents a profound awakening to your creative power. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is a shift in declaration. Long before the visible evidence appears, someone spoke a new reality into being. They refused to let their mouth agree with lack, limitation, or delay. Instead, they aligned their speech with the abundance they desired to see, and they held that alignment until the physical world reorganized itself to match their word. This awakening to the creative power of speech transforms your entire approach to manifestation. Most people speak reactively. They simply report what they see in their bank accounts, describe their financial struggles, and unconsciously reinforce the very conditions they wish to change. But those who walk in prosperity speak creatively. They declare what must be, regardless of current appearances. Now, I want to go even deeper into the foundational system that governs all financial manifestation. I'm about to reveal 7 divine laws that will completely revolutionize your relationship with money. But before I do, I must emphasize something crucial. These laws are not tools to be casually implemented. They are frequencies to be embodied. This distinction represents the decisive moment in your journey from financial struggle to abundant flow. Most people approach spiritual principles as techniques to try, something external to apply to their problems. But this mindset keeps you forever separate from the very abundance you seek. You don't dabble in frequency, you become it. These 7 laws are your divine inheritance, the spiritual blueprint coded into your very DNA. They aren't foreign concepts to be learned, but forgotten truths to be remembered. When you align with these laws, you're not adopting something new. You're returning to your original design as a being meant to live in overflow. The transformation occurs when you realize that activating these laws requires 3 essential elements: your mouth, your identity, and your obedience. Your mouth speaks the laws into motion. Your identity determines what level of abundance you can contain, and your obedience, your consistent alignment with these principles, determines how powerfully they manifest in your life. Most remain trapped in financial limitation because they approach these laws intellectually rather than vibrationally. They understand the principles but fail to become them. It's like studying the theory of swimming without ever entering the water. Knowledge without embodiment creates the illusion of progress without actual movement. The journey from intellectual understanding to vibrational embodiment requires a fundamental decision. Will you merely observe these laws from a distance, or will you allow them to rewire your entire being? Will you remain a student of prosperity principles, or will you become a living demonstration of them? This revelation marks the threshold between those who continue to struggle financially despite their knowledge and those who enter the flow of effortless abundance. When you fully embody these frequencies, you don't have to chase money. It chases you. You don't have to manipulate circumstances. They naturally align with your vibration. If you're ready to move beyond merely knowing about these laws to actually becoming them, type "I am the embodiment of divine prosperity" in the comments. Now let's explore the first of these 7 transformative laws that will completely recalibrate your financial reality, and discover how the first of these 7 divine laws transforms your entire financial reality from the inside out. The first law, the fundamental cornerstone upon which all financial transformation rests, is the law of the word. This revelation illuminates the hidden mechanics behind why some people remain stuck in scarcity, while others effortlessly attract abundance. Every single word you speak creates a mold, a spiritual template, into which divine substance is poured. This isn't metaphorical language. It's the literal description of how creation operates. Consider this profound truth. If your words are consistently shaped by fear, doubt, and anxiety about money, then the divine substance of your life naturally takes the form of scarcity. Conversely, when your words are shaped by faith, certainty, and expectation, that same divine substance manifests as abundant supply. The difference isn't in how much divine substance is available to you. It's in the molds you're creating through your everyday speech. This awakening represents a complete paradigm shift in how you approach your financial reality. Most people don't realize that casual comments, like "I can't afford that," or "money just slips through my fingers," are actually spiritual blueprints being submitted to the universe for manifestation. These aren't harmless observations. They're creative instructions that the law must fulfill. The spiritual world operates with exact precision. It listens constantly to the vibration of your words, and what it hears, it multiplies without questioning. When you sigh, "I'm always behind," the law responds, "So it is." When you casually mention, "I can't afford it," the law says, "Let it be done." When you joke, "I'm broke again," the law confirms, "As you have spoken." Now I want to go even deeper into the mindset transformation required to harness this law. Your voice must become a vessel of increase, not a thermometer merely reporting current conditions. This distinction marks the decisive turning point in your financial journey. Most people use their words to describe what they see: their empty bank accounts, their mounting bills, their financial challenges. But those who master prosperity use their words to create what they desire to see. The revelation that changes everything is this: your mouth was never designed to be a passive reporter of circumstances. It was designed to be an active creator of reality. When you treat your voice like a thermometer, simply reflecting the financial temperature around you, you remain trapped in the cycle of mirroring your current conditions. But when you use your voice as a thermostat, setting the temperature you desire, your external reality must eventually adjust to match your declaration. Every word you speak is a financial seed planted in the soil of divine mind. These seeds don't remain dormant. They grow into the very experiences and circumstances you'll encounter tomorrow, next week, next month, and next year. The financial challenges you're facing today are simply the harvest of seeds you planted previously, often unconsciously, through your habitual speech patterns. This understanding invites a profound decision. Will you continue echoing your bank account, or will you begin rewriting it with your words? Will you speak from reaction to what you see, or from creation of what you desire? The journey from financial frustration to abundant flow requires this fundamental shift in how you use your voice. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is someone who refused to let their mouth agree with lack. They stopped treating their voice like a news reporter and started using it like a commander. They didn't wait until they saw change to speak differently. They spoke differently until they saw change. This is the revelation that transforms casual speech into spiritual power. If you're ready to stop using your mouth to report your financial temperature and start using it to set the financial temperature, write, "My words create my wealth," in the comments below. Let's continue exploring how speaking with divine authority fundamentally transforms your relationship with money, and begin to recognize how your relationship with the flow of money fundamentally shapes your financial destiny. Now we arrive at the second divine law that governs all financial abundance, the law of circulation. This revelation disrupts everything we've been conditioned to believe about money. Most people approach their finances with a mindset of scarcity, holding tight, clutching every dollar, and fearing the moment of release. But the hidden truth that transforms everything is this: money is meant to move. It is not designed to be hoarded, gripped, feared, or buried. Money is spirit in motion, and like all divine energy, it expands when released in faith. This principle mirrors the natural world perfectly. Consider the transformation that occurs in a pond when fresh water flows both in and out. It remains clear, vibrant, and life-giving. But what happens to a pond when water only flows in, but never out? It becomes stagnant, toxic, and eventually unable to support life. Your financial life operates by this same principle. When you circulate with joy, confidence, and generous expectation, the law rushes to replace and multiply what you've released. The profound awakening occurs when you realize that your tight grip on money isn't protecting your supply. It's actually restricting it. When you contract in fear, when you hold money with anxiety rather than faith, you're teaching the universe that you don't trust it to return. And divine law does not multiply in an atmosphere of suspicion or contraction. It multiplies in flow, in rhythm, in spoken word confidence. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who dared to release in faith rather than clutch in fear. They discovered that control is not the same as wisdom, and what they labeled as being careful was actually just hoarding rooted in distrust. The journey from financial anxiety to abundant flow requires this fundamental shift in how you handle the release of money. Now I want to go even deeper into the spiritual mechanics that govern this circulation. When you release money, whether through giving, investing, or purchasing, you're not just engaging in a material transaction. You're participating in a spiritual cycle of energy. But here's the revelation that changes everything. The energy doesn't automatically return multiplied unless you activate the loop through declaration. This insight reveals why many people give, spend, and invest without experiencing the promised return. They release money, but they do so in silence, without commanding the harvest, without declaring the multiplication, without sealing the transaction with spiritual authority. It's like planting seeds without watering them, then wondering why nothing grows. When you release money with declaration, with a specific, faith-filled statement of expected return, you activate a completely different level of circulation. You're no longer just spending or giving. You're sowing with intention and commanding the harvest. Every dollar you release should be accompanied by the powerful declaration, "Every dollar I release returns to me multiplied under grace in perfect ways." This declaration isn't magical thinking. It's aligning yourself with divine law. You're not giving to lose, but to increase. You're not spending to deplete, but to activate the cycle of return. You're not circulating from fear, but from the unshakable confidence of a divine steward who understands the spiritual economy. The transformation in your financial life begins when you refuse to release another dollar without speaking over it. Whether you're paying bills, making a purchase, giving to charity, or investing, pause before that transaction and declare its return. Assign it a vibration. Make every financial exchange a testimony of divine law in action. This practice represents the decisive crossroads between those who experience money as a one-way street flowing away from them and those who experience it as a divine cycle always returning multiplied. The difference isn't in how much they make or spend. It's in how they speak over what they release. Circulation, when done in truth, when sealed with declaration, becomes the river of your increase. Like the tides that flow out only to return with greater force, your money begins to follow the rhythm of your spoken expectations. The first two laws, the word and circulation, work together in perfect harmony. One commands, the other activates. One speaks, the other multiplies. If you're ready to transform how you release money and activate the divine loop of return, write "I declare multiplication over every dollar I release" in the comments. Now let's explore how these first two laws create the foundation for a completely new relationship with money, and discover how these principles integrate to form a complete framework for financial transformation. Let's examine a practice that might seem small but creates profound ripples in your financial reality. Most people engage in transactions, paying bills, making purchases, or even giving to charity, without any spiritual awareness. They simply hand over money in silence, hoping for the best. But this revelation changes everything. Never give another dollar without speaking over it, declaring its return, and assigning it a vibration. This practice represents a fundamental shift in consciousness. Every transaction in your life is not merely a financial exchange. It's a spiritual declaration. When you pay your rent silently with a sense of depletion, you're programming that money to disappear permanently. But when you pay that same bill while declaring, "This money blesses everyone it touches and returns to me multiplied," you've completely transformed the energy of that transaction. The hidden truth behind financial mastery is that every dollar carries the vibration you assign to it. Most people unconsciously assign vibrations of loss, anxiety, or resentment to their money as it leaves their hands. Then they wonder why abundance seems to be flowing away from them rather than toward them. Your financial life cannot transcend the dominant vibration you attach to your transactions. This awakening invites you to make every financial exchange a testimony of spiritual law in action. Whether you're buying groceries, paying utilities, or making an investment, pause and speak over that money. Declare its purpose, its blessing, and most importantly, its return. This isn't superstition. It's aligning yourself with the vibrational nature of divine economy. Now I want to go even deeper into the journey of financial mastery by revealing the third divine law, the law of assumption. This principle illuminates why some people manifest wealth effortlessly, while others remain stuck in perpetual struggle despite their best efforts. You must walk, speak, and expect as if your demonstration is already complete. You cannot manifest wealth while living in the vibration of waiting. You must collapse the timeline and assume fulfillment now. This revelation transforms your entire approach to manifestation. Most people live in a state of spiritual delay. They pray for prosperity while vibrating in someday energy. They affirm abundance while internally feeling it's still in the future. This contradiction creates the very gap that keeps their good at a distance. The mindset revolution occurs when you realize that in divine mind, your demonstration is already complete. The wealth you seek already exists in the invisible realm. Your work isn't to create it, but to assume it into visibility through your vibration. This is why Jesus taught, "Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them." The key phrase is, believe that ye receive. Present tense, not future. When you wake up in the morning, you don't say, "Someday I'll be free." You say, "I am free now." When you look at a bill, you don't say, "I hope I can pay this." You declare, "My supply meets every demand on time without strain." This isn't delusion, it's spiritual rehearsal. You're training your body, your breath, and your cells to radiate the condition you command. The journey from waiting to receiving requires this decisive shift in consciousness. You must stand firmly in the vibration of already done rather than still coming. You must feel the wealth you command before it arrives in physical form. This collapsed timeline isn't about manipulating reality. It's about aligning with divine truth that transcends linear time. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is someone who refused to wait for physical evidence before feeling wealthy. They walked, talked, and breathed as if their prosperity was already complete. And because their inner state matched the vibration of fulfillment rather than seeking, the universe had no choice but to reflect that same fulfillment back to them. This practice of assumption represents the bridge between invisible and visible manifestation. If you act poor, speak doubt, and vibrate delay, then law must keep you rehearsing the condition you've agreed to. But if you step into the energy of wealth, speak, feel, and declare it as your now, then law begins rearranging substance to match your vibration. If you're ready to collapse the timeline and live from the vibration of already done rather than still waiting, write, "I assume my wealth is complete now," in the comments. Let's continue exploring how these laws of prosperity work together to completely transform your financial reality, and begin to see how these laws integrate to create a complete system for wealth manifestation. Let's examine a subtle but critical distinction in how you speak about your financial reality. Most people use what I call hope language when facing financial challenges. They say things like, "I hope I can pay this bill," or "I'm praying this check comes through." While this appears positive on the surface, it actually vibrates at the frequency of uncertainty and lack. The revelation that transforms everything is this: you must speak from the end result, not from the process of getting there. Instead of hoping you can pay a bill, declare with authority, "My supply meets every demand on time without strain." Rather than worrying about how money will come, affirm, "Divine substance flows to me through expected and unexpected channels." This shift in language isn't about positive thinking. It's about vibrational alignment with what is already complete in the spiritual realm. This practice represents a profound mindset transformation. It's spiritual rehearsal in its purest form. When you consistently speak from the end result, you're training your entire being, your body, your nervous system, your cellular memory, to radiate the condition you command. You're creating new neural pathways that align with abundance rather than scarcity. Behind the scenes of this practice is a powerful reconditioning process. Each time you speak as if your demonstration is complete, you're rewiring decades of programmed responses to money. You're dissolving the old patterns of anxiety and replacing them with the steady certainty of sufficiency. This isn't wishful thinking, it's deliberate vibrational recalibration. The journey from financial anxiety to abundant flow requires this fundamental decision. Will you continue to speak from where you are, or will you speak from where you intend to be? Will you use your words to describe your current limitations or to declare your destined abundance? This choice represents the pivotal turning point in your financial awakening. Now I want to go even deeper into the spiritual mechanics of wealth by revealing the fourth divine law, the law of tithing with word. This principle illuminates why some people give regularly yet experience no increase, while others give once and witness multiplication. Tithing is spiritual alignment, not superstition or religious obligation. When done in fear or from guilt, it is energetically void. But when done in truth and from abundance consciousness, it activates powerful flow. The revelation that transforms conventional understanding is this: tithing is not just giving, it's giving with declaration. Most people give money silently, perhaps with good intentions, but without activating the spiritual law of return through their spoken word. This incomplete practice is why many who tithe faithfully still struggle financially. When you give to a worthy cause, a church, or someone in need, you're not tithing to a person or organization. You're tithing to principle. You're acknowledging that spirit is your source. You don't give for favor or to be seen. You give to establish covenant with the law of circulation. But the missing element that activates supernatural return is declaration. As you release your tithe, say with authority, "This tithe opens channels no man can block." Declare, "I return a tenth, and the law returns hundredfold." Affirm, "As I release this, I increase my capacity to receive." These declarations seal your giving with spiritual power. They transform what could be a mechanical religious practice into a dynamic spiritual transaction. The mindset transformation required here is significant. You must never again give in silence. You must never treat your generosity as a gamble or your tithing as an obligation. Every seed you plant must be watered with your voice. You must affirm the increase, expect the return, and seal the act with divine instruction. This is the law of tithing with word, not just giving, but giving with spoken faith. And the law cannot resist faith. It cannot ignore declaration. It cannot hold back return from the one who gives and speaks in rhythm. When you integrate this practice into your financial life, you're not just performing a religious duty, you're activating a spiritual technology that transforms your entire economic reality. If you've been tithing silently and wondering why the promised windows of heaven haven't opened, write, "I now seal my giving with powerful declaration" in the comments. Let's continue exploring how these powerful laws build upon each other to create an unshakable foundation for prosperity, and discover how the deeper mechanics of prosperity operate at the level of both conscious declaration and subconscious programming. The revelation. We've just explored about tithing with word leads us to a critical principle that transforms all financial activity. Never give in silence. This truth applies not only to formal tithing, but to every act of financial release. Most people hand over money, whether in donations, investments, or purchases, without activating the spiritual circuitry of return through their spoken word. They plant seeds without watering them, then wonder why nothing grows. The journey from financial limitation to abundant flow requires this decisive shift. You must water every seed you plant with your voice. When you write a check to charity, affirm with authority, "This seed multiplies into a mighty harvest." When you invest in a business venture, declare, "This investment returns to me 100-fold." When you pay for groceries, state, "As I nourish my body, divine substance nourishes my finances." This practice isn't magical thinking, it's vibrational alignment with divine law. The universe operates by precise spiritual mechanics, and one of its foundational principles is that faith-filled declaration activates flow. The law cannot resist faith. It cannot ignore clear declaration. It cannot withhold return from one who speaks with spiritual authority while giving. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is someone who refused to engage in silent transactions. They recognized that their voice carries creative power, and they used that power to seal every financial release with expectation of return. This awareness represents a complete transformation in how you interact with money on a daily basis. Now I want to go even deeper into the internal architecture that either supports or sabotages your financial prosperity. We must address the often overlooked partner in your wealth creation, your subconscious mind. This revelation illuminates why some people affirm abundance for years yet see no change, while others speak prosperity once and witness immediate manifestation. The subconscious mind is your silent partner in creation. It never sleeps, never questions, never judges. It simply accepts what is spoken in rhythm, what is believed in repetition, and what is felt with emotional charge. If this inner system is not reprogrammed to expect wealth, then all your declarations, all your affirmations, all your outward attempts to manifest will eventually collapse under the weight of internal contradiction. This understanding reveals the missing link in most approaches to prosperity consciousness. Many people speak abundance with their conscious mind, while their subconscious remains programmed for lack. They affirm wealth in the morning, but spend the rest of the day unconsciously reinforcing limitations. This contradiction creates an energetic stalemate where their manifestations cannot fully materialize. The mindset revolution occurs when you realize that your subconscious doesn't care about logic or reason. It doesn't respond to occasional affirmations or sporadic declarations. It responds only to consistent rhythm, to emotional conviction, and to repetitive programming. Your work isn't just to speak prosperity occasionally. It's to reprogram your entire inner operating system to expect abundance as your natural state. Consider this hidden truth. Your current financial reality is the perfect reflection of what your subconscious believes is possible and appropriate for you. If you're experiencing limitation despite your conscious efforts to create wealth, it's because your deeper programming is still aligned with scarcity. The awakening begins when you address this internal blueprint rather than just trying to force external change. The journey of transformation requires systematic reprogramming through consistent declaration, emotional rehearsal, and vibrational alignment. You must speak prosperity until it becomes more familiar to your subconscious than lack. You must feel abundance until it becomes your default emotional state. You must vibrate at the frequency of wealth until your entire being knows no other way to be. This inner recalibration doesn't happen overnight. It happens through faithful practice of the laws we're exploring. Each declaration, each tithing with word, each assumption of the end result gradually rewires your subconscious to expect and accept prosperity as your natural state. Like water slowly reshaping stone, your consistent alignment with these principles eventually transforms your deepest beliefs about what's possible. If you recognize that your subconscious programming around money needs transformation, write, "I am reprogramming my inner wealth blueprint" in the comments. Now let's explore how to systematically reshape your subconscious to become a perfect receiver for abundance, and discover how internal alignment becomes the catalyst for profound financial transformation. Now we arrive at the fifth divine law that governs prosperity, the law of agreement. This revelation illuminates why some people remain stuck in financial limitation despite their best affirmations and declarations. You cannot say one thing and believe another. You cannot affirm wealth while making jokes about struggle. You cannot pray for provision and then gossip about how broke you are. Agreement is the sacred harmony between what you say, what you believe, and what you expect. This principle reveals the hidden contradiction that sabotages most people's manifestation efforts. Many speak prosperity in the morning meditation, but spend the rest of the day in subtle disagreement with their own declarations. They affirm, "Money flows to me easily," and then casually remark, "I always seem to be the last one paid." They declare abundance and then participate in conversations about economic downturns with fear and anxiety. This internal conflict creates a fragmented signal that the universe cannot clearly respond to. The awakening begins when you recognize that your manifestation isn't just about what you deliberately affirm, it's about your entire vibrational offering. Every casual comment, every joke about financial struggle, every worried glance at your bank balance creates disagreement with your prosperity declarations. The universe doesn't cherry-pick which of your vibrations to respond to. It answers your dominant frequency. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who achieved complete agreement between their conscious declarations and their subconscious beliefs, between their morning affirmations and their everyday conversations, between their spiritual practices and their emotional responses to money. They refuse to send mixed signals into the field of infinite possibility. Now I want to go even deeper into the revolutionary action required to transform your financial reality. Most prosperity teachings stop at telling you to think positive thoughts and speak affirmations. But the hidden truth that creates lasting change is this: you must formally break your existing agreements with lack. These agreements weren't just created by your conscious choices, They were formed through family patterns, cultural conditioning, childhood experiences, and countless subtle influences you weren't even aware of. This understanding reveals why simple affirmations often fail to create lasting change. You're trying to build new agreements while old ones are still actively operating in your subconscious. It's like trying to plant a garden. Without first removing the weeds, the new growth will always be choked out by the established patterns. The journey of transformation requires this decisive act. Formally declare, I break every agreement I've ever made with lack, even unconsciously. I sign a new contract today that agrees only with wealth, only with divine supply, only with my true inheritance. This isn't just positive thinking, it's spiritual legal work. You are the authority over your vibration, and you're filing formal notice that the old contracts are now null and void. This declaration creates a profound energetic shift in your entire being. It acknowledges that the limitations you've experienced weren't random. They were the result of agreements you made, consciously or unconsciously. And just as you entered those agreements, you have the spiritual authority to dissolve them and establish new ones aligned with prosperity. The mindset revolution occurs when you realize that this isn't just metaphorical language, it's the literal description of how reality operates. Every word you speak is either affirming your wealth or renewing your bondage to lack. Every thought you entertain is either strengthening your agreement with abundance or reinforcing your contract with limitation. There is no neutral ground in this spiritual economy. From this moment forward, choose carefully what you align yourself with. Be vigilant about the conversations you participate in, the jokes you make about money, the comments you offer about the economy. Ask yourself with each utterance, am I renewing my agreement with lack or cementing my covenant with abundance? This awareness transforms casual speech into sacred declaration. The law of agreement demands that your mouth, your mind, and your mood come into covenant, not just sometimes, but daily. When you achieve this internal harmony, your entire vibrational offering becomes a clear, powerful signal that the universe must respond to. You're no longer canceling your own manifestations through unconscious contradiction. If you recognize the need to formally break your agreements with lack and establish a new covenant with abundance, write "I dissolve all contracts with limitation" in the comments. Let's continue exploring how your internal alignment creates the energetic foundation for effortless manifestation, and begin to recognize the profound influence your identity has on your financial reality. We now arrive at the sixth divine law, perhaps the most transformative yet, the law of identity. This revelation illuminates why some people remain trapped in financial struggle, despite faithfully applying spiritual principles. You can only receive what your identity can hold. If you still see yourself as a struggler, a hustler, a barely getting by kind of person, then the universe must mirror that self-image. This isn't punishment. It's perfect resonance with who you believe yourself to be. The awakening that changes everything is this. Your financial challenges aren't primarily about external circumstances. They're about internal identity. Most people try to change their money situation while maintaining the same self-concept that created their limitations. It's like trying to pour abundance into a container labeled scarcity. The mismatch creates an energetic rejection of the very prosperity you seek. This understanding reveals why affirmations alone often fail to create lasting change. You might say, money flows to me easily. But if your core identity remains, I'm the kind of person who always struggles financially, your identity will override your affirmations every time. The universe doesn't respond to your occasional declarations. It responds to your consistent self-concept. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who underwent a fundamental identity shift. They stopped trying to get money and started becoming the vessel through which wealth naturally flows. They realized that prosperity isn't something to chase, but something to embody. The moment you declare, I am the channel of divine wealth, and repeat it until the old self-image dissolves, everything changes. Now I want to go even deeper into the practical application of this revolutionary principle. Most people carry deeply embedded labels about their relationship with money, unconscious self-definitions that govern their financial reality. These aren't just casual thoughts, they're identity structures that shape what you can and cannot receive. Labels like, I'm bad with money, I always lose it, I'm not the kind of person who gets rich, or money and I don't get along, aren't observations. They're declarations of identity that the universe must honor. The journey of transformation requires systematically replacing these limiting labels with empowering ones. You must consciously erase, I'm bad with money, and install, I am wealth in motion. You must deliberately remove, I always lose it, and replace it with, I am the gatekeeper of divine substance. You must consciously reject, I'm not the kind of person who gets rich, and declare, I am no longer waiting, I am now aligned. This identity reconstruction isn't simply positive thinking. It's energetic recoding at the deepest level of your being. Through repetition, through emotional conviction, through consistent declaration, you literally become a different person in relation to money. The old self that struggled with finances gradually dissolves, and a new self emerges, one that naturally attracts, maintains, and multiplies wealth. The mindset revelation is that you're not here to fix your money. You're here to transform your identity into one who cannot help but attract supply. When you change at the level of being rather than doing, your entire financial experience shifts automatically. The universe doesn't respond to your efforts. It responds to who you are. This process requires daily reinforcement. You must speak these new identity statements aloud, rhythmically, without pause, until they no longer sound like affirmations, but like your natural language. Statements like, I am wealth in motion, might initially feel foreign or even false. That resistance is simply the old identity fighting to maintain its position. Keep declaring your new identity until it becomes more familiar than the old one. The profound impact of this practice cannot be overstated. When identity changes, reality must follow. When you truly become, not just affirm, but become, the channel of divine wealth, the gatekeeper of abundance, the natural receiver of prosperity, your external circumstances reorganize themselves to match this new energetic signature. If you recognize that your financial struggles stem from an outdated identity rather than external circumstances, write, I am becoming a new money identity in the comments. Let's continue exploring how these divine laws work together to completely transform your relationship with abundance. And discover how consistent spiritual practice transforms these principles from concepts into living reality. The journey we've been exploring together brings us to a pivotal threshold, the difference between intellectual understanding and lived experience. You've now heard these 7 divine laws and received their rhythm. But knowledge without application creates the illusion of progress without actual transformation. The revelation that changes everything is this: you must move from curiosity to command, from interest to implementation. Prosperity rituals, and discover the precise spiritual command that transforms your financial reality through the power of sacred declaration. I'm about to share with you a declaration so powerful, so aligned with divine law, that it fundamentally reshapes your entire relationship with money. This isn't just another affirmation. It's a spiritual command that reprograms the energy of every dollar that passes through your hands. Let your fingers become literal transmitters of blessing. Let your tongue become the rod of multiplication. When you touch money, whether it's a coin, a bill, or a digital transaction, say with complete authority, divine substance cannot be depleted. I bless this money and see it multiply under grace in perfect ways. This declaration carries several layers of spiritual revelation within it. First, by stating divine substance cannot be depleted, you're acknowledging the infinite nature of true supply. You're recognizing that while physical currency might appear limited, the spiritual essence from which it flows is boundless and eternal. Bless it. When you consciously bless money, you're infusing it with a specific vibrational signature that remains attached to it as it circulates. This blessing creates an energetic imprint that continues to work on your behalf long after the physical currency has left your hands. Finally, by affirming, "I see it multiply under grace in perfect ways," you're programming the specific outcome you desire. You're not just releasing money, you're giving it spiritual instructions to return multiplied. The phrase, "under grace," acknowledges that this multiplication occurs not through manipulation or force, but through divine harmony, and in perfect ways surrenders the specific channels of return to infinite intelligence rather than limiting the process to your own imagination. The transformation begins when you speak this declaration not as a wish, but as a law, not as a hope, but as a command, not as a request, but as an expectation. Your tone, your certainty, your unwavering conviction infuses these words with power that reshapes the very substance of your financial reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into the revolutionary understanding of money as divine supply. One of the most damaging beliefs that keeps people locked in financial struggle is the idea that money is somehow dirty, evil, or carnal. This perspective, which has been reinforced through centuries of misinterpreted religious teachings, creates a fundamental contradiction. People simultaneously desire money while unconsciously believing it's spiritually compromising to have it. The revelation that changes everything is this: money is not dirty, evil, or carnal. That's the world's doctrine, not divine truth. Money, in its essence, is God's invisible supply made manifest. It is divine substance in tangible form, a physical representation of the infinite abundance that flows through all creation. When you recognize money as sacred rather than profane, you remove the energetic barriers that have been blocking your prosperity. This understanding represents a complete paradigm shift in your relationship with wealth. You're no longer trying to accumulate something worldly that's separate from your spiritual life. You're simply aligning with the natural flow of divine abundance that was always meant to support your highest expression. Money is drawn to those who recognize its sacred nature, not because they're trying to manipulate energy, but because they're in harmony with its true essence. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who healed their spiritual relationship with money. They stopped viewing prosperity as something that might compromise their spiritual values and started recognizing it as a natural extension of divine support. They released the unconscious guilt around having too much and embraced the truth that abundance is their spiritual birthright. The journey from financial anxiety to abundant flow requires this fundamental recalibration of how you perceive money itself. When you declare, "Money is divine substance made manifest," you're not engaging in wishful thinking. You're aligning with the spiritual truth that transforms your entire financial experience. This isn't about manipulating energy for material gain. It's about removing the artificial barriers between your spiritual nature and your material needs. If you're ready to release the old belief that money is somehow separate from or opposed to your spiritual life, write "money is divine substance" in the comments. Let's continue, exploring how this revolutionary understanding transforms your everyday interactions with money, and explore how your emotional relationship with money determines whether it flows toward you or away from you. Let's examine a profound spiritual principle that transforms your entire financial experience. What you scorn cannot stay. What you resist cannot return. This revelation illuminates why some people remain trapped in financial struggle despite their best efforts. Many approach money with unconscious resentment, judgment, or ambivalence. They criticize wealthy people while secretly desiring abundance. They speak disparagingly about the financial system while hoping to succeed within it. They harbor subtle judgments about money being the root of all evil while praying for more of it to enter their lives. This internal contradiction creates an energetic repulsion that keeps prosperity at a distance. It's like trying to embrace someone while simultaneously pushing them away. The mixed signal creates confusion and resistance. Money, being pure energy, responds with perfect precision to your dominant vibration. It cannot flow into a consciousness that scorns it, judges it, or harbors resentment toward it. The awakening begins when you recognize this simple truth. What you bless multiplies. What you honor attracts. Money isn't emotionally invested in your approval. It simply follows the law of resonance, flowing toward those who welcome it with appreciation and blessing. When you genuinely honor money as divine energy, when you recognize its sacred purpose in supporting your life mission, when you treat it with reverence rather than disdain, it naturally gravitates toward you. This understanding represents a complete transformation in how you emotionally relate to wealth. Your money isn't just responding to your actions or strategies, it's reflecting your beliefs, vibration, and consciousness with perfect accuracy. The state of your finances isn't a random circumstance, but a precise mirror of your internal relationship with abundance. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who fundamentally shifted how they feel about money. They stopped seeing it as a necessary evil and started recognizing it as a beloved ally. They released judgment about wealth and embraced gratitude for prosperity. They transformed their emotional relationship with money from one of criticism to one of appreciation. This internal shift created an entirely different external experience. Now I want to go even deeper into the revolutionary impact of how you speak about divine supply. The words you habitually use to describe your financial reality carry tremendous creative power. Most people unconsciously limit their prosperity through casual phrases like, "Money is hard to come by," or "I never seem to have enough." These aren't innocent observations, they're powerful declarations that the universe must fulfill. The journey of transformation requires replacing these limiting statements with declarations aligned with infinite abundance. Never again say, "Money is hard to come by." Instead, declare with absolute conviction, "God is my instant, constant, and lavish supply. Large sums of money come to me quickly under grace in perfect ways." This declaration isn't just positive thinking, it's vibrational alignment with spiritual truth. The phrase, "God is my instant supply," acknowledges that the source of your abundance isn't your job, your investments, or your skills. It's divine mind itself. Constant establishes that this supply isn't occasional or unreliable, it's perpetually available. And lavish breaks through the consciousness of just enough that keeps many spiritually minded people locked in financial limitation. The mindset revolution occurs when you declare, "Large sums of money come to me quickly," rather than expecting slow, incremental improvement. Most people have been programmed to believe that wealth must come gradually. That sudden abundance is suspicious or unsustainable. But this declaration aligns you with the truth that divine mind isn't bound by human timelines or limited by human expectations. When you add "under grace in perfect ways," you're acknowledging that this abundance flows not through struggle or manipulation, but through divine harmony. You're not forcing outcomes, you're aligning with the perfect operation of spiritual law. This surrender to divine orchestration allows abundance to flow through unexpected channels and surprising opportunities that your limited thinking could never have imagined. This declaration represents a complete paradigm shift from viewing money as scarce and difficult to attain to recognizing it as the natural expression of infinite supply. It's not about convincing yourself of something untrue. It's about aligning with the spiritual reality that transcends temporary appearances of limitation. If you're ready to fundamentally shift how you speak about your relationship with divine supply, write "Infinite abundance flows to me now" in the comments. Let's continue exploring how blessing money transforms its energy from something you chase to something that naturally flows toward you, and begin to understand how the conscious act of blessing transforms money from a limited resource into an unlimited flow of divine abundance. Let's explore a practice so simple, yet so transformative that it revolutionizes your entire financial reality. Blessing every dollar that enters your world. Most people interact with money mechanically. They receive it, spend it, save it, invest it, but they rarely bless it. This oversight represents one of the most significant missed opportunities in their prosperity journey. When you consciously bless every dollar that enters your world, every paycheck you receive, every unexpected gift, every coin you find, even every payment you send, you fundamentally alter the energetic signature of that currency. This practice isn't about sentimentality, it's about spiritual activation. When you declare with conviction, "This money is divine substance, it cannot be depleted, it flows to me and through me under grace and multiplies as it goes," you're establishing a specific vibrational pattern that transforms how that money operates in your life. You're no longer treating currency as a limited resource that diminishes as you use it. You're recognizing it as a living current of divine energy that actually increases through conscious circulation. The awakening begins when you realize that blessing money isn't just making you feel better about your finances. It's literally programming the energy to behave differently in your experience. Most people release money with a subtle sense of loss, an unconscious feeling that they now have less. But when you bless money as you circulate it, declaring that it multiplies as it goes, you're establishing a completely different energetic pattern, one of increase rather than decrease. This understanding represents a profound mindset transformation. You no longer view spending as depletion, but as strategic investment in the flow of increase. You no longer see bill payment as loss, but as participation in divine circulation. You no longer experience giving as sacrifice, but as conscious seeding of multiplication. This internal shift creates an entirely different external experience with the same financial activities. Now I want to go even deeper, into the spiritual principle that governs this practice, the law of multiplication. This revelation illuminates one of the most powerful yet overlooked aspects of prosperity consciousness. Whatever you bless multiplies. This isn't theory or mysticism, it's spiritual law operating with mathematical precision. When you consciously bless something with gratitude, appreciation, and expectation, you're activating a divine principle that causes increase. This law of multiplication isn't some new age concept. It's embedded in the very fabric of creation. Look at how a single seed, when planted in fertile soil, multiplies into a harvest. Observe how the loaves and fishes, when blessed with gratitude, multiplied to feed thousands. Notice how the talents, when invested rather than buried, returned a multiplied harvest. These aren't just inspiring stories. They're demonstrations of an unchanging spiritual principle that operates in every aspect of life, including your finances. The journey from financial anxiety to abundant flow requires aligning yourself with this law of multiplication through conscious blessing. When you bless your income, it tends to increase. When you bless your investments, they tend to grow. When you bless your giving, it tends to return multiplied. This isn't coincidence, it's precise alignment with divine law. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who discovered this principle of multiplication through blessing. They stopped seeing money as something that only diminishes through use and started recognizing it as something that actually increases through conscious circulation with blessing. They transformed their relationship with money from one of fear-based conservation to one of faith-based multiplication. The revelation that changes everything is this: blessing is not just a spiritual nicety, it's a powerful technology that literally changes the behavior of energy. When you bless money consciously, consistently, and with clear intention, you're altering its vibrational signature in ways that determine its future movement. You're programming it to multiply rather than diminish, to return rather than depart, to increase rather than decrease. This practice of blessing every dollar represents a complete paradigm shift in how you interact with money. You're no longer a passive recipient of financial energy. You're an active programmer of its behavior through your conscious blessing. You're no longer subject to economic conditions. You're aligned with spiritual principles that transcend temporal circumstances. If you're ready to transform your relationship with money through the conscious practice of blessing, write, "I bless money, and it multiplies," in the comments. Let's continue exploring how this principle of multiplication operates in specific financial situations, and discover how these spiritual principles translate into real-world financial transformation through remarkable demonstrations of divine law. Let me share a true story that illustrates the power of blessing money with conscious declaration. There was a woman who found herself in dire financial circumstances. All she had left was $2 to her name. Bills were mounting, rent was due, and panic was beginning to set in. But unlike most people who would have looked at those $2 with despair, she made a life-changing decision. She held those two bills in her hand and spoke to them with absolute conviction. This is God's money. It is spiritual substance. It cannot be depleted. She wasn't engaging in wishful thinking or magical beliefs. She was aligning herself with divine law by recognizing the true nature of those dollars not as limited currency, but as infinite spiritual substance temporarily appearing in the form of money. She refused to see those $2 as all she had. Instead, she recognized them as a physical representation of the limitless abundance that was her divine inheritance. The transformation didn't happen through manipulation or manifestation techniques. It happened through vibrational alignment with truth. Within a week, not months or years, but days, $6,000 came to her from a completely unexpected channel. Someone she hadn't spoken to in years felt inexplicably compelled to reach out and send her exactly the amount she needed to cover her expenses and create breathing room in her finances. Many would call this coincidence or luck, but those who understand spiritual law recognize it as divine demonstration, the perfect unfoldment of the law of multiplication activated through conscious blessing. Her declaration didn't create the money out of nothing. It simply aligned her consciousness with what was already prepared for her in the invisible realm. This story reveals a profound truth about financial transformation. The amount you currently have is irrelevant. Whether it's $2 or $2 million, the principle remains the same. When you recognize money as spiritual substance that cannot be depleted and declare this truth with unwavering conviction, you set in motion forces that transcend human limitation. Now I want to go even deeper into the mechanics of how money responds to frequency. One of the most revolutionary revelations about prosperity is this: money is never far away from you. It's only out of tune with your frequency. This understanding transforms the entire approach to financial increase. Most people believe that money is scarce, distant, or difficult to attract. They spend their lives chasing it, pursuing it, trying to convince it to come to them through effort or strategy. But the truth that changes everything is that money isn't distant. It's dissonant. It's not absent. It's awaiting alignment. The prosperity you seek isn't separated from you by external circumstances. It's separated only by vibrational mismatch. This revelation completely shifts your approach from external pursuit to internal alignment. Your word becomes your tuning fork in this process. Just as a tuning fork establishes a clear, consistent frequency that brings musical instruments into harmony, your declared word establishes the vibrational signature that brings money into resonance with your life. When you declare with authority, "Money is here, money is ready, money now multiplies under grace," you're not trying to convince an absent force to appear. You're tuning yourself to the frequency where money already exists in abundance. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who stopped frantically searching for money out there and started aligning with it through conscious declaration. They recognized that prosperity wasn't a distant destination to reach, but a frequency to embody. They stopped asking, "Where is my money?" and started declaring, "Money is here now." The mindset transformation occurs when you realize that your current financial situation isn't a reflection of how much money exists or how worthy you are of receiving. It's simply feedback on your current vibrational offering. If abundance seems elusive, it's not because it's unavailable to you. It's because your dominant frequency isn't in harmony with it yet. But the moment you adjust your vibration through conscious declaration, money must respond accordingly. This principle operates with mathematical precision. It's not emotional or personal. It's vibrational and exact. When you consistently declare, "Money now multiplies under grace," you're not hoping to influence a random universe. You're aligning with an exact spiritual law that must fulfill itself through your experience. This isn't wishful thinking. It's scientific application of spiritual principle. If you're ready to recognize that money isn't distant from you, but simply awaiting vibrational alignment, write, "I tune my frequency to prosperity" in the comments. Let's continue exploring how to precisely tune your vibration to the frequency where abundance naturally flows, and discover how the ancient patterns of multiplication reveal the timeless principles for creating abundance in your modern financial life. Let's examine one of the most profound demonstrations of the law of multiplication found in spiritual text, the miracle of the loaves and fishes. This isn't just an inspiring story. It's a blueprint for financial transformation. When faced with thousands of hungry people and only a few loaves and fish, Jesus didn't panic about scarcity. He didn't frantically count what was available or worry about the apparent lack. Instead, he engaged in two specific actions that activated divine abundance: gratitude and declaration. The scripture tells us he looked up, acknowledgement of source, gave thanks, gratitude for what was present, not anxiety about what was lacking, and then broke the bread, action taken in faith. It was in this sequence, acknowledgement, gratitude, declaration, and faith-filled action, that the miracle of multiplication occurred. The revelation that changes everything is this: the loaves and fishes weren't multiplied through effort, calculation, or anxious planning. They were multiplied through conscious alignment with spiritual law. This ancient demonstration reveals the timeless journey of transformation from apparent lack to visible abundance. The path doesn't begin with strategic effort. It begins with shifting your consciousness from fear to faith, from anxiety to gratitude, from focus on limitation to declaration of increase. When you look at what you currently have with eyes of appreciation rather than anxiety, you activate the same spiritual principle that multiplied those loaves and fishes. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who applied this exact pattern. They looked at their current resources, no matter how limited they appeared, with gratitude rather than resentment. They spoke words of increase over what they had rather than words of limitation. They took action from faith rather than fear. And in that sacred sequence, multiplication became inevitable. Now I want to go even deeper into a pivotal decision point that determines whether you experience multiplication or limitation in your financial life. One of the most significant revelations about prosperity is this: do not wait until you have more to speak. Speak now. Speak when it is small. This insight illuminates why many people remain stuck in financial limitation despite their understanding of spiritual principles. Most people make the critical error of waiting until their finances improve before they begin speaking words of increase. They think, once I have more money, then I'll feel abundant enough to declare prosperity. But this approach completely reverses the divine order of creation. The declaration doesn't follow the manifestation, it precedes it. You don't speak because you have because you speak. The mindset revolution occurs when you realize that the one who speaks to little is the one who eventually governs much. The person who declares abundance over their last $5 is the one who ultimately experiences financial overflow. The one who blesses their seemingly insignificant savings account is the one who eventually manages substantial wealth. This isn't coincidence. It's precise alignment with spiritual law. This understanding represents a profound shift in how you approach your current financial situation. Instead of waiting until circumstances improve to adjust your declaration, you recognize that circumstances improve because you change your declaration. You stop holding off on prosperity consciousness until external validation arrives, and you start speaking increase over whatever is currently in your hands. The transformation begins when you see divine pattern in every dollar, not just in large amounts. When you look at a single dollar bill, you're not seeing just a dollar. You're seeing a representation of infinite supply temporarily appearing in that form. That one? Dollar contains the DNA of millions, the spiritual pattern of unlimited abundance. It's not the amount that matters, it's the consciousness you bring to it. This practice of speaking to small amounts represents true spiritual mastery. Anyone can feel abundant when their bank account is overflowing, but the one who maintains prosperity consciousness when resources appear limited is the one who has truly understood the law. They're not reacting to current conditions, they're creating future conditions through their present declaration. If you currently find yourself with limited financial resources, recognize this moment as your greatest opportunity for transformation. Don't wait until your situation improves to begin speaking words of increase. Start now with whatever you have. Declare with authority, "This money carries the pattern of multiplication. I see not its current amount, but its unlimited potential. I speak increase over it now." This declaration isn't wishful thinking. It's alignment with the same principle that multiplied loaves and fishes into abundance for thousands. If you're ready to stop waiting for your finances to improve before speaking words of increase, write, "I speak abundance to what I have now," in the comments. Let's continue exploring how to transform every financial transaction into a sacred opportunity for multiplication, and learn how to infuse every financial transaction with transformative spiritual power through specific declaration. Now let's establish the exact declaration that transforms every financial transaction from a mundane exchange into a sacred act of multiplication. This isn't just another affirmation to memorize, it's a spiritual code that literally rewires the energy of money as it passes through your hands. Every time you touch money, whether receiving a paycheck, paying a bill, making a purchase, or even checking your account balance, say, with the authority of absolute knowing, "Divine substance cannot be depleted. I bless this money and see it multiply under grace in perfect ways." The vibration of this declaration matters as much as the words themselves. You're not mumbling this like a casual reminder or reciting it like a memorized poem. You're declaring it like a king addressing his court, like a sovereign speaking law into existence. Your tone carries conviction, not because you're trying to convince yourself, but because you're aligned with the unchanging truth of divine abundance. This practice transforms the most ordinary financial moments into profound spiritual rituals. Imagine paying your electric bill not with resentment about another expense, but with the declared truth that this payment cannot be depleted, but rather multiplies under grace. Visualize checking your bank balance not with anxiety about the amount, but with the certainty that whatever you see represents divine substance that is being blessed and multiplied through your conscious declaration. The revelation that changes everything is this: the words you speak over money as it passes through your hands determine its future behavior in your experience. Each declaration creates a specific energetic imprint that influences how that money, and all money connected to it, responds to you going forward. You're not just making yourself feel better about your finances. You're literally programming the currency with spiritual instructions. Now I want to go even deeper into understanding how the universe responds to these declarations. The mindset breakthrough occurs when you realize that the universe literally bends to your word when that word is spoken with unwavering conviction and perfect alignment with divine law. Most people approach manifestation with logical questions. How will the money come? Through what channel? By what means? In what time frame? But these questions actually create resistance to the very abundance they seek. The journey of transformation requires recognizing that the declaration isn't about figuring out the logistics, it's about establishing the vibration. You don't need to know the channel through which abundance will flow. You only need to maintain the frequency that allows it to find you. The universe doesn't respond to your planning or calculation. It responds to your vibrational offering. When you declare divine substance cannot be depleted, you're not trying to convince your mind of a concept. You're aligning your entire being with the vibrational reality where depletion is impossible. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is someone who stopped trying to intellectually figure out how abundance would come and simply established the vibrational frequency where it could find them naturally. They recognized that their job wasn't to create complex strategies for attracting money, but to maintain perfect alignment with the truth of divine supply. They understood that the sentence isn't about logic, it's about vibration. When you speak these declarations with authority and rhythm, something profound happens in the spiritual realm. You're not just sending words into the air, you're establishing a direct connection with the divine storehouse of infinite abundance. You're tuning yourself to the exact frequency where lack is impossible and overflow is natural. This alignment isn't wishful thinking or magical belief. It's precise attunement to the vibrational reality where abundance already exists in completed form. The theme? Transformation occurs when you recognize that these declarations aren't trying to create something new. They're aligning you with what already exists in the invisible realm. The divine storehouse isn't something distant or theoretical. It's a spiritual reality that becomes accessible the moment your vibration matches its frequency. Your declaration doesn't build the storehouse. It opens the door to what was always there, awaiting your alignment. If you're ready to transform every financial transaction in your life through the power of this specific declaration, write, "I declare multiplication over every transaction," in the comments. Let's continue exploring how this practice creates a fundamental shift in your entire relationship with money, and understand how your casual words about money might be the hidden barrier between you and the abundance you desire. Let's examine a profound truth that illuminates why many spiritually aware people remain trapped in financial limitation despite their understanding of prosperity principles. If money keeps fleeing from your life, if abundance seems to arrive only to quickly disappear, if opportunities come close but never fully manifest, it's not because you're being punished or forgotten. It's because your word has pushed it away. This revelation transforms your entire understanding of why financial breakthrough remains elusive. Most people don't realize that every idle sentence they speak against their own supply becomes a gate slammed shut to abundance. That casual comment about bills piling up, that offhand remark about never having enough, that joke about being perpetually broke, these aren't innocent observations or harmless venting. They are powerful declarations that the universe must honor. They are vibrational instructions that divine law must fulfill. The awakening begins when you recognize that your financial situation isn't responding to your occasional affirmations. It's responding to your consistent declarations. If you affirm abundance for 5 minutes each morning, but spend the rest of the day casually commenting on lack, your dominant vibration remains scarcity. The law doesn't tally how many positive versus negative statements you make. It responds to your energetic offering as a whole. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who became vigilant about what they would allow to leave their lips regarding money. They recognized that their casual speech wasn't just describing their reality, it was creating it. They made the revolutionary decision to guard their mouth as carefully as they would guard a sacred vault, refusing to let any word of lack escape into the atmosphere. Now, I want to go even deeper into the profound impact of what seems like harmless financial talk. When you say things like, "I can't afford that," or "money goes faster than it comes," or "I never seem to get ahead financially," you aren't describing a condition that exists. Independently of you, you are actively creating that condition through your declaration. This understanding represents a complete paradigm shift in how you approach everyday conversation about money. The mindset transformation occurs when you realize that divine law doesn't check whether you're joking, venting, or just making conversation. It doesn't analyze your intent or emotion. It simply receives your vibration and responds accordingly. When you casually remark, "I'm always broke by the end of the month," The law doesn't say, "Oh, they're just letting off steam, I'll ignore that." It says, "As you have spoken, so shall it be." It takes your declaration as literal instruction for manifestation. This revelation illuminates why many well-intentioned people remain stuck in financial struggle despite their spiritual understanding. They've compartmentalized their prosperity consciousness, thinking it only matters during meditation or affirmation time. But the truth is that every word you speak about money, whether in formal declaration or casual conversation, is programming your financial reality with exact precision. The journey from financial frustration to abundant flow requires this fundamental shift. You must become as intentional with your casual speech as you are with your formal affirmations. You must treat every sentence about money as a powerful creative force rather than meaningless commentary. This doesn't mean denying challenges or pretending problems don't exist. It means choosing to speak from solution consciousness rather than problem awareness. Instead of saying, "I can't afford that," you might say, "I'm choosing to direct my resources elsewhere right now." Instead of commenting, "Money just slips through my fingers," you could declare, "I'm becoming more conscious of how I circulate divine substance." This isn't playing word games. It's fundamentally shifting the vibration you're offering to the universe regarding your finances. The transformation begins when you recognize that your tongue isn't just for communication, it's for creation. Your words aren't just expressing your thoughts about money. They're establishing the energetic blueprint that money must follow in your experience. This awareness invites a sacred discipline around speech that most people never develop, but that represents the threshold between persistent limitation and consistent abundance. If you recognize that your casual negative talk about money might be the invisible barrier between you and the prosperity you desire, write, "I now guard my words about money" in the comments. Let's continue exploring how to transform even the most challenging financial situations through the conscious use of prosperity-aligned language, and discover how the subtle, often unconscious words you speak in everyday money moments are silently shaping your entire financial future. Let's explore a revelation that transforms your prosperity consciousness from occasional practice to continuous alignment. Be mindful of what you mutter when paying bills, whisper when looking at your account, or say to friends about your financial situation. Most people completely overlook these seemingly insignificant moments, not realizing they represent the hidden architecture of their financial reality. That quiet sigh when opening a bill, that whispered "not again" when checking your balance, that casual comment to a friend about never having enough. These aren't meaningless reactions. They're powerful creative instructions. The awakening begins when you recognize that every phrase you speak about money is a seed that brings forth after its kind with precise spiritual accuracy. Most people plant seeds of lack unconsciously throughout their day, then wonder why prosperity doesn't grow in their experience. They mutter about bills while paying them, whisper about insufficiency while checking accounts, and casually reinforce financial struggle in conversations with friends. Each of these moments represents a sacred crossroads where you're either aligning with abundance or programming limitation. This understanding invites a profound decision. Will you continue to unconsciously plant seeds of lack in these everyday money moments, or will you transform them into opportunities for conscious creation? Will you remain unaware of the muttered complaints and whispered anxieties that shape your financial reality, or will you bring complete awareness to these pivotal moments of vibrational programming? Behind the scenes of every financial transformation is someone who became exquisitely conscious of these subtle money moments. They recognized that what they muttered while paying bills was actually creating their future financial experience. They realized that what they whispered when checking their account was programming the energy of that account going forward. They understood that casual conversations about money weren't just social exchange, but spiritual declaration. Now I want to go even deeper into the revolutionary practice of speaking life over your finances. This revelation transforms your entire relationship with money from unconscious reaction to conscious creation. When touching your wallet, Opening your banking app or engaging in any financial activity, declare with absolute conviction, "I do not curse my supply. I declare it sacred. Money flows to me freely now, and I speak only life over it." This declaration represents a complete paradigm shift in how you relate to your finances. Most people unconsciously curse their supply through negative speech, then wonder why it seems cursed in their experience. They speak death over their money through complaints and anxiety, then question why it seems to die up or disappear. This practice of consciously speaking life over your finances breaks that destructive cycle and establishes an entirely new pattern. The mindset transformation occurs when you recognize that your finances aren't just responding to economic conditions or career choices. They're responding to your declarations with perfect precision. When you consciously affirm, "I do not curse my supply," you're making a decisive break with the unconscious pattern of negative speech that has been programming your financial reality. When you declare, "I declare it sacred," you're establishing a reverent relationship with money that transcends mere transaction. When you state, "Money flows to me freely now," you're programming the energetic pattern that money must follow in your experience. This practice represents spiritual mastery of the highest order. You're no longer reacting to your financial circumstances. You're creating them through conscious declaration. You're no longer passively accepting limitation. You're actively programming abundance. You're no longer letting unconscious patterns determine your prosperity. You're deliberately establishing the vibrational blueprint that your finances must follow. The journey from financial frustration to abundant flow requires bringing this level of awareness to every money moment in your life. Each time you touch your wallet, check your account, pay a bill, or discuss finances becomes a sacred opportunity to program prosperity rather than limitation. These aren't just mechanical activities, they're spiritual technologies for creating your financial reality. If you're ready to transform these everyday money moments from unconscious limitation to conscious creation, write, "I speak only life over my finances" in the comments. Let's continue exploring how to apply these principles to specific financial situations that most people find challenging, and discover how one of the most dreaded financial activities, paying bills, can be transformed into a powerful ritual of abundance. Let's explore a revelation that completely transforms your relationship with what most people consider the most stressful aspect of financial life: paying bills. Every time you pay a bill, you're making a powerful declaration about what you believe regarding the nature of supply. Most people approach bill payment with dread, resentment, or anxiety, viewing it as depletion, as loss, as evidence that there's never enough. But this perspective creates the very financial pressure they're trying to avoid. The awakening begins when you recognize that payment is not depletion. It's a spiritual transaction that proves you trust the source to refill what you've released. This understanding represents a complete paradigm shift in how you approach every bill that arrives in your mailbox or inbox. When you pay your rent or mortgage with gratitude rather than resentment, you're not just fulfilling an obligation, you're participating in divine circulation. When you handle your utilities payment with appreciation rather than anxiety, you're not just avoiding disconnection, you're activating the flow of increase. This transformation in perspective doesn't deny the practical reality of financial obligations. It simply elevates them from mundane burdens to sacred opportunities for demonstrating trust in infinite supply. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who fundamentally shifted how they approached bill payment, from viewing it as evidence of lack to recognizing it as participation in abundance. The journey from financial anxiety to abundant flow requires this decisive reframing of what payment represents. Most people unconsciously clench when writing a check or clicking Pay Now, feeling the subtle contraction of fear that accompanies the perception of loss. This energetic signature becomes attached to the transaction, programming the experience of never enough into their financial reality. But when you consciously release payment with gratitude and expectation, you're establishing a completely different vibrational pattern. Now I want to go even deeper into the revolutionary practice that transforms bill payment from a dreaded necessity into a powerful prosperity ritual. When paying any bill, whether for housing, utilities, education, or services, whisper with absolute conviction, "I pay this in joy, and it returns to me multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." This declaration isn't wishful thinking. It's alignment with divine law through conscious participation in the cycle of circulation. The mindset transformation occurs when you recognize that every payment you make is proof of circulation, and circulation is the fundamental law of life. Look at how nature demonstrates this principle. Blood must circulate to sustain the body. Water must circulate to sustain the earth. Air must circulate to sustain the atmosphere. Stagnation in any system eventually leads to death, while circulation creates vitality and growth. This revelation illuminates why many spiritually aware people still struggle financially despite their understanding of prosperity principles. They intellectually grasp the concept of circulation, but emotionally contract when actually releasing money. They affirm abundance in theory, but approach bill payment with subtle resentment in practice. This contradiction creates the very limitation they're trying to overcome. The declaration, "I pay this in joy and it returns to me multiplied," isn't just positive thinking. It's precise alignment with how divine economy actually functions. The phrase, "pressed down, shaken together, and running over," comes from ancient scripture and describes the lavish nature of return when we participate in circulation with the right consciousness. This isn't exaggeration or metaphor. It's the exact description of how energy behaves when released with the correct vibrational signature. What makes this approach so transformative is that it doesn't require changing your external circumstances, only your conscious response to them. You don't need more money to begin this practice. You simply need to transform how you approach the money that's already flowing through your life. This internal shift creates an entirely different energetic outcome from the same financial activities. If you're ready to transform bill payment from a dreaded obligation into a powerful prosperity ritual, write, "I pay in joy and receive multiplied" in the comments. Let's continue exploring how every aspect of your financial life, even the parts most people find stressful, can become sacred opportunities for aligning with abundant flow, and begin to understand the profound revelation that every visible manifestation begins first as an invisible declaration. Let's explore a spiritual principle that illuminates the true sequence of creation. Every visible blessing in your life begins with an invisible word. This insight transforms your entire approach to manifestation. Most people believe that abundance starts with external circumstances, a better job, a lucky break, an inheritance, a brilliant investment. But the hidden truth that changes everything is this: your riches don't begin in the bank. They don't begin in the marketplace. They begin in your speech. This revelation represents a complete paradigm shift in how you approach financial transformation. The world teaches you to wait until you see evidence before you speak abundance. It tells you to be realistic and describe what's currently visible. But divine law operates in precisely the opposite sequence. You must speak abundance before you see it. You must declare prosperity while still surrounded by limitation. You must affirm overflow while still facing apparent insufficiency. The mindset revolution occurs when you recognize that your word isn't describing reality. It's creating it. Your declaration isn't reporting on what exists. It's establishing the vibrational blueprint for what must soon appear. This understanding transforms you from a passive observer of financial circumstances to an active creator of financial reality through the power of your spoken word. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who refused to let their mouth agree with limitation. They spoke prosperity while facing lack. They declared abundance before seeing evidence. They affirmed overflow while still navigating insufficiency. This wasn't denial or delusion. It was deliberate alignment with the divine order of creation, where the word always precedes the manifestation. Now I want to go even deeper into this principle by sharing a remarkable demonstration of how speaking precedes manifestation. There was a woman who found herself in dire financial circumstances. She had no visible means of support, no savings, no promising opportunities on the horizon. But instead of speaking about her lack, she made a life-changing decision to speak only what she desired to see. With absolute conviction, she began to declare daily, "I see yellow bills, I see green bills, I see pink checks with divine abundance, written in my name." She wasn't speaking from what her eyes could currently see. She was speaking from what her spirit knew was possible. She wasn't reporting on her mailbox. She was programming it through declaration. The transformation didn't happen through manipulation or manifestation techniques. It happened through vibrational alignment with truth. Before long, not years later, not months later, but within weeks, her mailbox began to manifest exactly what she had spoken. Yellow bills, green bills, pink checks arrived from channels she couldn't have calculated or orchestrated. What she had spoken in the invisible realm had taken form in the visible world. Many would dismiss this as coincidence or selective memory. But those who understand divine law recognize it as perfect demonstration. The natural unfoldment of spoken word made manifest. Her declaration didn't create money out of nothing. It aligned her consciousness with what was already prepared for her in the invisible realm. This story reveals a revolutionary truth about manifestation. Your spoken word doesn't have to match your current circumstances. It only needs to match the reality you desire to experience. You're not speaking to convince yourself of what isn't true. You're speaking to align with what is already true in the spiritual realm, waiting to be drawn into physical manifestation through your declaration. The journey from financial frustration to abundant flow requires this fundamental decision. Will you continue speaking what your eyes currently see, or will you begin declaring what your heart knows is possible? Will you let your tongue agree with temporary limitation, or will you align it with eternal abundance? This choice represents the decisive turning point in your financial transformation. If you're ready to align your speech with the prosperity you desire rather than the limitation you currently see, write, "I speak abundance into existence," in the comments. Let's continue exploring how to maintain unwavering prosperity, consciousness, even when facing contradictory appearances, and discover how this powerful approach to creation is anchored in timeless spiritual wisdom that transcends culture and tradition. Let's explore a profound revelation found in sacred text that illuminates the divine pattern of manifestation. In Romans 4:17, we find a description of God's creative process. God calleth those things which be not as though they were. This isn't just an inspiring passage. It's the literal blueprint for how divine creation operates. The Creator doesn't wait until something exists to acknowledge it. The Creator speaks it into being before it's visible. This pattern reveals the exact sequence of manifestation that governs all creation, including your financial reality. This insight transforms your entire approach to prosperity consciousness. Most people believe they need to see abundance before they can speak it. They wait for evidence before they'll declare prosperity. But this completely reverses the divine pattern. When you understand that God calleth those things which be not as though they were, you recognize that authentic creation always begins with declaring what isn't yet visible as though it already exists. The mindset revolution occurs when you realize that speaking things that don't yet appear as though they already do isn't delusional. It's divine. It isn't wishful thinking. It's precise alignment with the actual pattern of creation. When you declare, "I see riches surrounding me," while your bank account shows limitation, you're not denying reality. You're participating in the exact creative process that birthed the universe itself. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who aligned themselves with this divine pattern. They didn't wait until abundance was visible to acknowledge it. They called it forth while it was still unseen. They didn't describe what their eyes could see. They declared what their spirit knew was possible. This approach isn't just positive thinking. It's deliberate alignment with the fundamental architecture of creation. Now I want to go even deeper into the practical application of this divine pattern through specific daily declarations. These aren't just affirmations to recite mechanically. They're conscious alignments with the creative process of the universe. Each morning, affirm with absolute conviction, I see riches surrounding me. I walk in financial peace every day in every way. My supply multiplies visibly and invisibly. The transformation begins when you speak these declarations not as future possibilities, but as current realities. You're not saying, I will see riches surrounding me someday. You're declaring, I see riches surrounding me now. You're not hoping for financial peace tomorrow. You're claiming it as your present experience. This shift from future to present tense represents the difference between wishing and commanding, between hoping and creating. What makes these declarations so powerful is that they reprogram your entire relationship with abundance. Most people operate from a consciousness of scarcity, even while affirming prosperity. They speak abundance with their lips while their inner world remains aligned with lack. But when you consistently declare these truths, speaking them daily, feeling them emotionally, believing them completely, your inner world gradually shifts from doubt to certainty, from anxiety to peace, from limitation to abundance. The revelation that changes everything is this: you must speak these declarations until your inner world accepts them as fact. This isn't about how many times you repeat them, it's about the level of conviction with which you declare them. You're not trying to convince yourself of something untrue. You're aligning your consciousness with what is already true in the spiritual realm, waiting to be made manifest in your experience. This practice represents spiritual mastery of the highest order. You're no longer letting your inner world be programmed by external circumstances. You're deliberately programming your inner world through conscious declaration. You're no longer waiting for your bank account to give you permission to feel abundant. You're establishing the feeling of abundance first, knowing that external circumstances must eventually align with your dominant vibration. The journey from financial frustration to abundant flow requires this fundamental commitment. You must be willing to speak these declarations faithfully, consistently, and with absolute conviction, even when your physical senses report contradictory evidence. This isn't denial, it's transcendence. It's not ignoring reality, it's creating a new reality through alignment with divine pattern. If you're ready to align your speech with the divine pattern of calling those things which be not as though they were, write, I call forth my invisible good in the comments. Let's continue exploring how to maintain unwavering faith in your declarations, even when faced with contradictory circumstances, and understand how what appears to be harmless humor about your finances might actually be programming your life for poverty. Let's explore a revelation that transforms your understanding of casual conversation. The subconscious mind has absolutely no sense of humor. This insight illuminates why many spiritually aware people remain trapped in financial struggle despite their understanding of prosperity principles. When you joke about being broke, when you make light of your financial challenges, when you humorously refer to yourself as always struggling, your subconscious doesn't recognize these statements as harmless entertainment. It records every word as literal instruction for manifestation. This truth is powerfully illustrated through a sobering story. There was a woman who repeatedly joked with friends and family about one day living in a trunk on the side of the road. She said it with laughter, others laughed with her, and everyone understood it was just her particular brand of self-deprecating humor. But her subconscious wasn't laughing. It was taking meticulous notes. It was preparing the vibrational blueprint for exactly that experience. The awakening begins when you realize that her eventual circumstances, where she literally found herself living in a trunk on the side of the road, weren't random misfortune or cosmic punishment. They were the precise manifestation of her most consistent declaration, even though that declaration was made in jest. This wasn't because the universe was being cruel. It was because the universe was being obedient to her dominant vibration, which was established through her repeated jokes. Behind the scenes of every financial disaster is often someone who unknowingly programmed that very outcome through what they thought was harmless humor. Your subconscious doesn't filter your declarations based on your intent or emotion. It doesn't distinguish between serious statements and jokes. It simply receives vibrational instructions and works tirelessly to manifest corresponding experiences. Now I want to go even deeper into a profound truth that transforms your entire relationship with language. There are no neutral words when it comes to prosperity consciousness. This revelation illuminates why casual speech has such powerful creative impact. Every word you speak is either constructive or destructive. Every declaration either aligns with truth or with fear. Every sentence either builds your financial future or dismantles it. The mindset transformation occurs when you recognize that when you joke about being broke, your subconscious doesn't recognize the humor. It simply removes money to match your declaration. When you make light of always being the last one paid, divine law doesn't appreciate your attempt at comedy. It simply arranges circumstances to fulfill your decree. When you humorously refer to yourself as bad with money, the universe doesn't share in your laughter. It simply creates experiences that confirm your statement. This understanding represents a complete paradigm shift in how you approach everyday conversation. You begin to recognize that words aren't just expressions of thought. They're creative forces that shape the substance of your reality. Your casual comments about finances aren't innocent observations. They're powerful instructions to universal law. Your humorous remarks about money challenges aren't releasing tension. They're programming limitation. The journey from financial frustration to abundant flow requires this fundamental decision. Will you continue using your creative power to unconsciously program limitation through seemingly harmless jokes? Or will you consciously direct that power toward establishing prosperity through deliberate declaration? This choice represents the decisive turning point in your financial transformation. What makes this revelation so powerful is that it doesn't require changing your external circumstances, only your conscious response to them. You don't need more money to begin this practice. You simply need to transform how you speak about the money that's already flowing through your life. This internal shift creates an entirely different energetic outcome from the same financial situation. If you're ready to release the habit of joking about financial limitation and begin speaking only what you want to create, write, "I speak only prosperity, even in jest," in the comments. Let's continue exploring how to consciously program your subconscious mind for abundance rather than lack, and learn how to undo the effects of negative declarations while understanding the exact sequence of creation that governs all manifestation. Let's explore a powerful spiritual technology that can transform your financial reality, even if you've already programmed limitation through careless speech. If you've spoken foolishly about your finances, if you've joked about being broke, complained about never having enough, or casually reinforced lack through unconscious declarations, there is a way to cancel those vibrations before they fully manifest. This revelation represents a profound spiritual reset that can literally rewire your prosperity consciousness. Speak this declaration with absolute authority and conviction. Every idle word I have spoken about money is now neutralized, reversed, and replaced by divine truth. This isn't just a positive affirmation. It's a spiritual decree that operates at the level of vibrational law. Most people don't realize that just as you can program limitation through negative speech, you can cancel those programs through conscious declaration aligned with truth. The awakening begins when you recognize that this cancellation isn't wishful thinking. It's precise alignment with how spiritual law actually operates. When you declare that every idle word is neutralized, you're literally disrupting the vibrational pattern those words established. When you affirm they are reversed, you're setting in motion the energetic unwinding of limitation. And when you decree they are replaced by divine truth, you're installing a new vibrational blueprint aligned with abundance. This practice represents a complete paradigm shift in how you approach manifestation. Most people believe that once they've spoken limitation, they're stuck with the consequences. But this understanding reveals that through conscious declaration aligned with truth, You can literally rewrite the energetic programs you've established through past speech. This isn't denial or magical thinking. It's deliberate reprogramming of vibrational patterns. Now I want to go even deeper into the exact formula of manifestation that governs all creation. This revelation illuminates the precise sequence through which your financial reality takes form. First the vision, then the vibration, then the visible. All things created first appear in imagination, are sealed in word, and then formed in reality. This understanding transforms your entire approach to prosperity consciousness. Most people try to reverse this sequence. They wait to see visible evidence before they'll believe. They wait for external circumstances to change before they'll adjust their vibration. They wait for physical manifestation before they'll accept abundance as their reality. But this completely contradicts the actual formula of creation, where the invisible always precedes the visible. The mindset transformation occurs when you recognize that your imagination isn't just daydreaming. It's the first stage of creation. When you close your eyes and see yourself surrounded by abundance, you're not engaging in fantasy. You're establishing the initial blueprint for manifestation. This vision then becomes anchored through your declaration, your spoken word that seals the imagined reality as vibrational instruction. And from that established vibration, physical form must eventually emerge in perfect alignment. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who followed this exact formula, often unconsciously. They first saw abundance in their imagination. They then declared that vision with conviction and authority. And from that established vibration, their physical reality gradually reorganized itself to match. This wasn't coincidence or luck. It was precise alignment with the formula of manifestation. The journey from financial frustration to abundant flow requires deliberately applying this formula with conscious awareness. Instead of waiting for external evidence to change your beliefs, you recognize that your beliefs, established through vision and declaration, will eventually change your evidence. Instead of needing proof before you'll speak prosperity, you understand that your prosperity speech creates the proof you seek. What makes this approach so revolutionary is that it places the power of creation firmly in your hands. You're no longer a passive recipient of random circumstances. You're an active creator following the exact formula that governs all manifestation. You're not hoping for better conditions. You're establishing them through deliberate application of spiritual law. If you're ready to apply this exact formula of manifestation to transform your financial reality, write, "I follow the divine sequence of creation," in the comments. Let's continue exploring how to move from intellectual understanding to embodied practice through specific visualization techniques, and discover how to harness the power of visualization and sacred timing to program your subconscious mind for unprecedented prosperity. Let's explore a transformative practice that brings the formula of manifestation into vivid reality: conscious visualization of your wealth. This isn't daydreaming or wishful thinking. It's deliberate engagement with the first stage of creation. Close your eyes and see your wealth, not as fantasy or escapism, but as spiritual truth awaiting manifestation. See bills stacked neatly in your drawer. Visualize your bank accounts overflowing with abundance. Picture yourself making payments with ease and joy. Imagine the feeling of complete financial freedom coursing through your body. The awakening begins when you recognize that this visualization isn't pretending, it's perceiving at a higher level of reality. In the spiritual realm, your abundance already exists in completed form. When you close your eyes and see it with clarity and conviction, you're not fabricating illusions. You're tuning into what already exists in the invisible dimension awaiting your alignment. What makes this practice so powerful is what happens next. You speak what you see. This sequence, first seeing internally, then declaring externally, completes the creative circuit that allows manifestation to flow. Most people try to speak prosperity without first seeing it clearly in their imagination. But when you declare what you've already witnessed in your inner vision, your words carry a completely different vibration, one of certainty rather than hope, of recognition rather than desire. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who engaged in this exact practice. They didn't just intellectually affirm abundance, they saw it vividly in their imagination. They didn't just repeat prosperity phrases, they declared what they had already witnessed in their inner vision. This combination of clear seeing and bold declaration represents the alchemical formula that transforms invisible substance into visible manifestation. Now I want to go even deeper into a revelation that dramatically amplifies the power of your prosperity practices, the significance of sacred timing. Most people approach spiritual practices without awareness of energetic gateways, not realizing that certain moments carry extraordinary, transformative potential. The moments before sleep and upon waking represent powerful gates to the subconscious, windows of opportunity when the analytical mind is less active and the deeper self is more receptive to programming. The mindset transformation occurs when you recognize that blessing your money during these sacred transitions isn't just a nice ritual, it's strategic engagement with your subconscious mind when it's most receptive to reprogramming. When you bless your finances before drifting into sleep, you're installing prosperity consciousness directly into the deeper mind that works throughout the night to reorganize your reality. When you declare abundance immediately upon waking, you're establishing the vibrational foundation for your entire day before the world can impose its frequency of limitation. This understanding of sacred timing transforms your entire approach to prosperity practices. You're no longer engaging in random affirmations throughout the day, hoping something will stick. You're deliberately working with these doorposts of consciousness, these powerful transition moments when the veil between conscious and subconscious is thinnest, to install prosperity programming when it can take root most effectively. The journey from financial frustration to abundant flow requires this deliberate engagement with sacred timing. Your prosperity practices aren't just about what you declare, they're about when you declare it, by blessing your money at night. And in the morning, during these powerful gateway moments, you're strategically reprogramming your subconscious when it's most receptive to transformation. What makes this approach so revolutionary is that it doesn't require more time or effort, just more awareness of timing. You're already transitioning into sleep each night and emerging into wakefulness each morning. By consciously blessing your finances during these natural gateways, you're simply leveraging transitions that already exist in your daily experience. This isn't adding another practice to an already busy life. It's infusing existing transitions with transformative power. If you're ready to harness the power of sacred timing to amplify your prosperity consciousness, write, "I bless my finances" at the doorposts of each day in the comments. Let's continue exploring how these practices come together to create a complete system for reprogramming your relationship with abundance, and discover how to program your sleeping hours for wealth creation while clearing the emotional barriers that silently sabotage your abundance. Let's explore a specific declaration that transforms your sleeping hours from passive rest into active prosperity programming. Before you drift into slumber each night, establish this powerful bedtime wealth affirmation with absolute conviction. I now draw from the abundance within and see wealth without. Every dollar I touch returns to me blessed and multiplied. This isn't just a nice thought to end your day. It's a deliberate instruction to your subconscious mind that continues working throughout your sleeping hours. When you declare that you draw from the abundance within, you're acknowledging the fundamental truth that prosperity doesn't come from external sources, but from alignment with the infinite supply that already exists within your divine nature. This recognition shifts your entire relationship with wealth, from something you pursue to something you express from within. Then, by affirming that you see wealth without, you're instructing your subconscious to manifest that inner abundance in your external experience. The awakening begins when you recognize that this declaration isn't just words spoken into the air. It's vibrational programming being directly installed into your subconscious mind during the most receptive hours of the day. While you sleep, this affirmation continues to echo through the chambers of your deeper consciousness, reshaping your prosperity blueprint at the most fundamental level. Your subconscious doesn't rest. It works tirelessly throughout the night to reorganize your reality according to the instructions you've given it before sleep. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who transformed their sleeping hours from passive rest into active creation through this exact practice. They recognized that the 8 hours they spend sleeping represent a powerful opportunity for prosperity programming that most people completely overlook. By consciously directing their subconscious mind before sleep, they established a continuous cycle of abundance creation that operated even while they rested. Now I want to go even deeper into a revelation that illuminates perhaps the most insidious barrier to financial abundance: unconscious guilt about wealth. This insight explains why many spiritually aware people remain stuck in financial limitation despite their understanding of prosperity principles. Guilt about wanting money functions as the invisible thief of abundance, silently stealing the very prosperity you're trying to create through spiritual practice. The mindset transformation occurs when you recognize that this guilt isn't your natural state. It's programmed conditioning that can be systematically released. Most people harbor subtle beliefs that they're somehow unworthy of riches, that wanting financial abundance is selfish or materialistic, that prosperity might compromise their spiritual values. These unconscious beliefs create a fundamental contradiction. They consciously affirm abundance while unconsciously feeling they don't deserve it or shouldn't desire it. This revelation invites a profound journey of emotional liberation. You must cleanse yourself of every false belief that says you're unworthy of riches, that wanting money is selfish, that abundance might corrupt you or pull you away from spiritual values. This cleansing isn't just psychological, it's energetic. Recalibration that removes the invisible barriers between you and the prosperity that naturally belongs to you as your divine inheritance. The journey from financial frustration to abundant flow requires this fundamental healing of your emotional relationship with wealth. Most prosperity practices focus exclusively on affirmation and declaration without addressing the unconscious guilt that silently sabotages those very declarations. But when you deliberately release the programmed shame around wanting and having money, you remove the energetic contradiction that has been blocking your manifestations. What makes this approach so revolutionary is that it doesn't add another technique to your spiritual practice. It removes the invisible barrier that has been preventing all your existing techniques from working effectively. You're not learning a new manifestation method. You're clearing the emotional static that has been interfering with the methods you already know. If you recognize that, unconscious guilt about money might be the hidden saboteur of your prosperity consciousness. Write, "I release all guilt about wealth," in the comments. Let's continue exploring how to systematically release these limiting beliefs while establishing a new emotional relationship with abundance, and discover how liberating yourself from wealth guilt while aligning with unwavering spiritual law creates unstoppable prosperity in your life. Let's explore a powerful declaration that liberates you from the hidden chains of prosperity guilt. This isn't just another affirmation. It's a profound emotional and energetic recalibration that transforms your entire relationship with abundance. Speak with absolute conviction. It is right for me to prosper. I use money in love, and money flows to me in peace. My wealth is a blessing to all. I release guilt and walk in truth. This declaration addresses the core emotional barriers that silently sabotage most people's prosperity consciousness. When you affirm, "It is right for me to prosper," you're directly confronting the unconscious belief that abundance might somehow be wrong for you, that you're undeserving, or that prosperity conflicts with spiritual values. This single phrase begins the profound unwinding of programming that may have been instilled through religious teachings, family patterns, or cultural conditioning. The awakening deepens when you declare, "I use money in love, and money flows to me in peace." This statement resolves the internal conflict that many spiritually minded people experience. the fear that financial abundance might corrupt them or pull them away from higher values. By establishing that you relate to money through love and that it comes to you in peace, you're creating a completely new emotional blueprint for your relationship with prosperity. When you affirm, "My wealth is a blessing to all," you're healing perhaps the most insidious form of prosperity guilt, the belief that your abundance somehow takes from others or contributes to inequality. This revelation transforms your entire understanding of prosperity from a zero-sum game to an expansive flow that elevates everyone it touches. Your wealth isn't selfish indulgence. It's sacred energy that blesses your life and extends to bless countless others through your conscious stewardship. Now, I want to go even deeper into a spiritual truth that changes everything about manifestation. The law never fails. This insight illuminates why some people experience consistent prosperity while others remain trapped in financial struggle despite similar spiritual practices. Divine law doesn't choose favorites or operate randomly. It responds with mathematical precision to the spoken word of truth, declared in rhythm, backed by faith, and sealed with silence. The mindset revolution occurs when you recognize that the law isn't testing you, punishing you, or withholding from you. It's simply responding to your vibrational offering with perfect accuracy. When you speak rightly, declaring prosperity with conviction and authority, and don't contradict your word through casual speech, doubt, or fear, the law immediately goes to work reorganizing circumstances to match your declaration. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who aligned themselves with this unwavering truth. They stopped viewing prosperity as something they needed to earn, convince God to provide, or hope would eventually arrive. They recognized it as the automatic demonstration of correctly applied spiritual law. Their breakthrough wasn't miraculous or exceptional. It was the natural consequence of alignment with principles that never fail. The journey from financial frustration to abundant flow requires this fundamental trust in the perfection of divine law. Most people approach prosperity with subtle doubt, wondering if the principles will work for them specifically. This doubt creates a vibrational contradiction that delays or prevents manifestation. But when you truly understand that the law never fails, that it operates with the same consistency as gravity or mathematics, your entire relationship with manifestation transforms from hoping to knowing. What makes this approach so revolutionary is that it removes the element of uncertainty from prosperity consciousness. You're no longer wondering if abundance will come. You're simply aligning with the exact conditions that make it inevitable. You're not hoping the law works. You're applying it with the same confidence you have that a light will illuminate when you flip a switch. This certainty isn't arrogance, it's alignment with truth. The transformation begins when you recognize that the law doesn't respond to your worthiness, your past, or your circumstances. It responds only to your present vibrational offering, established through declaration, expectation, and unwavering faith. When you speak prosperity with absolute conviction, maintain that vibration without contradiction and trust the process without anxious monitoring. The law has no choice but to deliver corresponding manifestation in perfect divine timing. If you're ready to release all guilt about prosperity while trusting completely in the perfection of divine law, write, "I trust the law of prosperity completely," in the comments. Let's continue exploring how one woman's unwavering faith in this law created a remarkable demonstration of abundance from seemingly impossible circumstances. As we bring our journey together to a close tonight, I want to thank you for allowing these words of truth to flow into your consciousness as you drift toward sleep. The principles we've explored aren't just concepts to contemplate. They're living frequencies ready to transform your financial reality as you rest. If these divine laws have stirred something deep within you, a remembrance of your true relationship with abundance, I invite you to join our community of conscious creators. Subscribe to this channel so these frequencies can continue to flow into your life, helping you maintain the vibrational alignment we've established tonight. The transformation we've begun isn't complete with just one night of meditation. It deepens through consistent alignment with truth. That's why I create these meditations, to provide the sacred rhythm your prosperity consciousness requires to fully blossom. If this message found its way to you at exactly the right moment, leave a comment saying, "Divine. Timing brought me here." So I know these words reach their intended recipient. Your sharing becomes part of the collective current that lifts others into the same remembrance. And if you felt the energy shift as you listened, touch the like button as a simple acknowledgement of the connection we've created. This small gesture helps others discover these prosperity frequencies when they're ready for transformation. I've created another meditation that naturally complements tonight's journey. One that focuses on dissolving the deepest subconscious blocks to wealth while you sleep. You'll see it appearing right here. Allow yourself to be guided there if your soul recognizes it as the next step in your prosperity awakening. Remember, you weren't meant to struggle. You weren't created for limitation. You were designed for overflow. And as you drift into sleep tonight, let these truths become the new foundation of your financial reality. Divine abundance is your birthright. Claim it now as you rest in perfect peace.